For more than 20 years, Merv Griffin saw Hollywood from an angle nobody else touched. From 1962 to 1986, he sat face to face with thousands of stars, movie kings, TV giants, and music legends who owned the spotlight. But behind those polished smiles and camera-ready laughs, Griffin noticed the ugly stuff that never aired. As the mind behind Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune, Merv wasn't just a talk show host. He was a real power player with doors wide open where most people were locked out. A longtime producer who worked closely with him once said, "Merv saw everyone." He didn't just do quick on-air chats. He was backstage, in closed meetings, and hanging around sets, watching how stars moved when the cameras shut off. That gave him a no-filter look at Hollywood's real behavior, the version hidden behind applause and charm. According to staffers from Griffin's 24-year run, plus production notes and first-hand stories, a disturbing pattern slowly came into focus. Some stars didn't just slip up once or twice. They built entire careers around exclusion. This wasn't about different times or awkward mistakes. It was long-term discrimination baked into the system from the inside. Some of Hollywood's biggest names allegedly demanded all-white crews. Others used their clout to quietly keep segregated casting alive for decades, blocking chances for black performers just trying to get a foot in the door. These weren't harmless personality traits. They were calculated moves that stalled whole generations of talent. Even crazier? A lot of the stars America loved the most were tied to it. There was a feel-good holiday singer whose cheerful image covered years of pushback against racial integration. A comedy legend whose massive success showed young executives how to hardwire discrimination into business models that stuck around long after he left the scene. At number 8, Merv reportedly pointed straight at the Rat Pack's top dog, a legendary figure with mob connections who never bothered hiding his racist views. His fame made him untouchable, and he moved like he knew it. Over those 24 years, Merv Griffin gained something no other host had: time. He saw the same stars return again and again as America changed around them. He watched who grew, adapted, and learned, and who stayed stubborn, refusing to move an inch. What he witnessed permanently changed how he saw the industry he helped build. But before going deeper, one name stood out louder than the rest. Number 1 on Griffin's private list of most discriminatory stars: the legendary actress Bette Davis. When Bette Davis appeared on the Merv Griffin Show, viewers saw classic Hollywood royalty. The sharp-tongued icon from All About Eve and Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. Famous for those piercing eyes and her ironclad work ethic. She had a reputation for demanding excellence and tolerating zero nonsense. But according to behind-the-scenes workers from the 60s and 70s, that so-called high standard came with a darker edge. Crew members recalled Davis making very specific demands about who could work near her, insisting on experienced staff only. Later, staffers said that phrase was often understood as code for older white workers, quietly pushing young black production assistants away. Her behavior stunned even people who worshipped her talent. On screen, she came off as pure strength and raw artistry. But off camera, she was helping enforce the same ugly rules Hollywood loved to pretend weren't real. And this was just the start of what Merv Griffin's team began noticing about some of the biggest names ever to touch a soundstage. Behind the scenes, Bette Davis wasn't simply confident, she was controlling. She didn't float ideas, she issued orders. She told producers she needed people who understood her, and insiders knew exactly what that meant. Internal notes from the Merv Griffin Show revealed Davis repeatedly refused to work with black makeup artists and hairstylists, insisting she only trusted white professionals who knew what worked for her. This wasn't a one-off demand. It happened again and again, even when black artists had decades of experience and top-tier credentials. Crew members also noticed how her tone shifted depending on who stood in front of her. With white staff, she stayed sharp but professional, the no-nonsense icon everyone respected. With black crew members, she reportedly turned distant, clipped, and dismissive. Her remarks about Hollywood standards slipping popped up more often, especially around integrated crews. She complained the industry was getting too modern, a phrase staff recognized as coded longing for an all-white Hollywood of the past. By the 1970s, her reputation acted like armor. Any complaint about her behavior got waved away with, "That's just Bette being difficult." Whether lines were crossed didn't matter. Her legend status made her untouchable. Studios focused on keeping her comfortable, making sure the public only saw her talent, never how black staff were treated or her quiet push towards segregated workspaces. Her power kept her image spotless. But while Bette Davis used influence to keep her prejudice tucked away, the woman ranked number 2 on Griffin's list didn't bother hiding anything. She let frustration and time harden her attitude, turning her into a living symbol of old Hollywood's worst habits. Number 2, Joan Crawford, Hollywood royalty turned bitter survivor. When Joan Crawford appeared on the Merv Griffin show, viewers saw polished glamour in motion. Perfect posture, razor-sharp cheekbones, elegance straight out of a golden era. Her rise from nothing story inspired millions, proving grit could turn a struggling dancer into a movie queen. But behind that shining image, things were shifting fast. By the late 60s and early 70s, Crawford's appearances showed a troubling pattern that shocked longtime staff. She openly bristled at the growing diversity on TV crews. She demanded familiar workers, industry slang for older white staff from Hollywood's segregated days. When production couldn't meet those demands, her irritation filled the room. People on set recalled how she pushed for separate arrangements whenever black performers or crew were present. Different entrances, private prep areas, even separate makeup spaces. She claimed it was all about privacy, but those working nearby understood the reality. Segregation dressed up with softer words. As she aged, that bitterness didn't fade. It got louder. Crew members who worked with her over multiple years said she stopped trying to mask her bias altogether. By the early 1970s, as her fame clearly began slipping, that frustration turned into open hostility toward younger black staff. To her, they weren't just co-workers. They represented a Hollywood that no longer centered around her, proof that the industry had moved on without asking permission. One production assistant even documented moments where Crawford questioned why certain people were allowed on set. She treated young black professionals with visible contempt, brushing past their work and minimizing their presence. Her resentment became so obvious that staff often had to quietly rearrange schedules and responsibilities just to keep the peace. Behind the scenes, Joan Crawford's behavior was carefully managed. Networks didn't want her public image cracking. Her name still pulled strong ratings, so her discriminatory demands were handled quietly and off the record. But while Crawford's bias came from clinging desperately to the past, the next name on Merv Griffin's list, the so-called all-American cowboy, wore his prejudice loud and proud. Number 3, John Wayne, the cowboy who openly defended supremacist views. When John Wayne appeared on the Merv Griffin show, audiences saw what they believed was the ultimate symbol of American toughness, the blunt, no-frills cowboy who starred in nearly 200 films. He represented rugged independence, old-school grit, and what many called real America. But off-camera, Wayne held views that were deeply racist, and unlike others, he didn't bother hiding them. In 1971, Wayne gave an interview to Playboy magazine that exploded into one of Hollywood's most controversial moments. In that interview, he made explicit white supremacist statements, not coded hints, not vague phrasing, but direct claims. He said he believed in the superiority of white people and defended violence against Native Americans, arguing that white settlers had a natural right to take their land. These were his own words, printed in black and white, and he never walked them back. When the backlash hit, Wayne didn't budge. Staff who worked around him in the early 70s said he doubled down, repeating the same ideas in private conversations and during interviews. He treated those beliefs like just another form of patriotism. He even acted confused that people were offended, insisting he was simply telling the truth about American values. Crew members recalled his on-set behavior after the Playboy scandal. Nothing changed. He continued pushing for mostly white crews and made it clear who he preferred to work with. Production teams, fully aware of his views, rarely challenged him. His name carried too much weight, and his movies made too much money. When John Wayne died in 1979, the media barely touched the ugly parts of his legacy. Obituaries focused on his so-called patriotism, his film career, and his influence on American cinema, with only vague throwaway mentions of his racist remarks. The same industry that protected him in life protected him in death. It was a clear message. In Hollywood, power could shield prejudice, even when it was said out loud and printed for everyone to see. But the next name on Merv Griffin's list came with a twist that stunned even veteran staff, because this time it wasn't a tough cowboy or a bitter screen legend. It was someone America believed was pure sunshine. Number 4, Doris Day, the sweetheart who quietly ran a segregated operation. When Doris Day appeared on the Merv Griffin show, she looked like innocence wrapped in curls. Blonde hair, a glowing smile, and that cheerful voice that locked her in as America's forever girl next door. Her romantic comedies defined wholesome entertainment, and audiences trusted her completely. But behind that glowing image, Doris Day held real power, and she used it to keep her professional world very white. From 1968 to 1973, Day starred in The Doris Day Show, but what most viewers never knew was that she also served as its producer. That gave her serious control over decisions like casting and staffing. Internal network diversity reports later showed the show stood out, and not in a good way. It ranked among the least diverse major programs of its era. Even though the series was set in San Francisco, one of the most diverse cities in the country, the on-screen world stayed overwhelmingly white from beginning to end. Why? Doris Day had contractual approval over casting, and she used that power to keep things exactly how she wanted them. For 5 straight years, she sold audiences a feel-good version of America that quietly erased real diversity, all while projecting warmth and purity. Behind that spotless smile and squeaky clean image was a consistent pattern. Inclusion wasn't forgotten, it was avoided. That's what made her placement on Merv Griffin's list so shocking. She wasn't loud or confrontational like John Wayne. She hid her bias behind a sweet laugh, catchy tunes, and a carefully protected image of innocence. By the early 1970s, the entertainment world was changing fast, but Doris Day refused to change with it. Production records show her discussing the need to maintain a wholesome image, a phrase insiders understood as code for keeping the cast white. To her, wholesome didn't just mean family-friendly. It meant traditional, safe, and non-diverse. And it didn't stop with casting, not even close. People who later worked inside Doris Day's production company revealed the exclusion ran deep behind the scenes, too. Employment records showed black professionals were routinely passed over, not just for acting roles, but for writing gigs, crew positions, and production jobs as well. From top to bottom, her company kept workspaces almost entirely white. This wasn't accidental, it was strategic. Day built her business like a sealed bubble where diversity barely existed. What made it worse was the power she held. She wasn't being pushed around by studios. She owned her production company and had full control over who got hired. And still, she chose segregation, all while hiding behind that sunny, all-American image. Even as the civil rights movement reshaped the country, Doris Day's career stayed untouched. Her wholesome reputation never cracked. When she passed away in 2019, headlines crowned her America's sweetheart, praising her charm and goodness. Almost nobody mentioned the years of documented exclusion tied to her productions. That clean-cut image worked perfectly. It buried the truth and quietly protected decades of discriminatory practices. And just when it seemed Hollywood's secrets couldn't get any colder, Merv Griffin's list rolled on to number 5, a voice that echoed through living rooms every holiday season. Number 5, Bing Crosby, the Christmas voice with a chilling mindset. When Bing Crosby appeared on the Merv Griffin show, audiences didn't see controversy, they felt comfort. His smooth baritone was Christmas, the warmth behind White Christmas, the best-selling single of all time. To millions, he represented safety, nostalgia, and tradition. But behind that polished image was a man whose personal views shut the door on progress. As early as the 1950s, news reports documented Crosby's resistance to racial integration, not in movies, but in real life. He opposed integrated housing in California neighborhoods where he owned property. When activists asked for his support in fair housing efforts, Crosby said he worried about property values dropping if neighborhoods became more diverse. The language was polite, the message was clear. He was defending segregation, and those views didn't fade with time. During talk show appearances in the 1960s and 1970s, Crosby often spoke about missing simpler times. To everyday viewers, it sounded like harmless nostalgia, but insiders knew what he meant. Those simpler times pointed straight back to segregated Hollywood and all-white neighborhoods he felt more comfortable with. Crew members from the Merv Griffin show and other productions quickly picked up on how Bing Crosby moved around people of color. He was warm, relaxed, and chatty with white staff, but barely acknowledged black crew members at all. One staffer later said he just didn't see them, like they weren't there. His whole tone shifted depending on who stood in front of him, and the tension on set was impossible to miss. Unlike some stars who adjusted as the country changed, Crosby stayed planted in the past. As civil rights movements reshaped America, he treated every shift as a personal loss, often saying the nation was losing its way. Where others saw progress, he saw decline, and he expressed it with the same calm confidence he used to deliver his biggest hits. What made Bing Crosby's behavior especially frustrating was how protected he was by his image. Christmas, family values, classic Americana, all of it wrapped him in armor. Criticizing Crosby felt to many people like criticizing Christmas itself. Few wanted to accept that the warm smile behind "I'll be home for Christmas" could carry such a cold attitude toward equality. His legacy stayed wrapped in holiday glow, a polished image that perfectly masked the reality underneath. When Crosby died in 1977, the world mourned a national treasure, the voice of the holidays. Obituaries praised his charm, his films, and his timeless Christmas spirit, while barely mentioning his opposition to integrated housing or his decades-long refusal to grow on civil rights issues. But while Crosby's prejudice hid behind carols and nostalgia, the next name on Merv Griffin's list showed something even more troubling: how patriotism itself could be used as cover for discrimination. Number 6, Bob Hope, America's comedian with some very un-American attitudes. When Bob Hope appeared on the Merv Griffin show, he was treated like royalty. He wasn't just a comedian, he was America's entertainer, the man who performed for U.S. troops from World War II through Vietnam. His jokes, his grin, his golf club, he embodied patriotism and morale. Criticizing Bob Hope felt almost forbidden, like criticizing the troops themselves. But behind the punchlines and flag-waving humor was a pattern he never seemed interested in fixing. Talk show records and production notes from the 1960s through the 1980s show Hope's comedy barely evolved. While other comedians dropped outdated, racially charged material, Hope kept using it for decades. He didn't adjust his language or respond to changing social awareness. He acted like his legendary status put him above criticism. And it wasn't limited to his jokes. Staff from his USO tours recalled something even more telling: how differently he treated people based on race. Multiple accounts described friendly, relaxed relationships with white staff, while black crew members were kept at arm's length. This wasn't subtle. It was obvious, repeated, and widely noticed over multiple tours. What made Bob Hope's situation so maddening was the armor of patriotism wrapped around him. Any attempt to question his behavior got shut down fast. "He's done so much for the troops," became the ultimate shutdown line. His USO tours turned him into a national hero, and nobody wanted to mess with that image. He built the perfect shield. Criticizing Bob Hope meant risking looking unpatriotic. While other stars caught heat for outdated jokes or discriminatory behavior, Hope never faced real pushback. His flag-soaked brand made him untouchable. He lived to be 100 years old, passing away in 2003, and when the tributes poured in, they all followed the same script, praising the laughs, the tours, the service. The uncomfortable parts, the bias, the way he treated staff, the refusal to change, were quietly ignored. Once again, the image of an American hero was protected at all costs. But if Bob Hope hid behind patriotism, the next name on Merv Griffin's list hid behind something just as powerful: massive business success. Number 7, Lucille Ball, the comedy queen who ran a discriminatory empire. When Lucille Ball appeared on the Merv Griffin show, she didn't just enter the room, she dominated it. Bright red hair, razor-sharp timing, total control. She wasn't just a TV star, she was television royalty. I Love Lucy changed comedy forever and made her one of the most powerful figures in entertainment. On top of that, she shattered barriers by becoming one of Hollywood's first female studio heads. On the surface, she symbolized progress, power, and female success. But behind that trailblazing image sat a quieter, uglier pattern that shaped who got opportunities and who didn't. In the 1950s, I Love Lucy became one of the most beloved shows in TV history. Yet despite being set in New York City, one of the most diverse places in the world, the show featured almost no black representation at all. Lucille Ball wasn't just the star of the series. She held contractual approval over casting and guest appearances, giving her real control over who appeared on screen. According to production records and staff accounts, she used that authority to keep the cast overwhelmingly white. This wasn't accidental or passive, it was intentional. Lucille had full creative power, and the casting choices reflected exactly how she wanted her world to look. Lucille Ball's control was never quiet or accidental. It was loud, deliberate, and backed by serious power. By the time the 1970s hit, she wasn't just a TV legend anymore. She was an industry guide, the so-called elder stateswoman of entertainment, shaping a new generation of producers. Young creators listened closely to everything she said, but what she passed down wasn't just tips about comedy timing. It was a mindset that kept old Hollywood's walls firmly locked in place. Producers from that era later documented how Lucille constantly pushed phrases like traditional casting and broad appeal. On the surface, it sounded safe and professional, but everyone in those rooms knew the real meaning. Keep casts white, keep things familiar, don't rock the boat. Her advice quietly trained others to see diversity as a risk and sameness as smart business, reinforcing the same exclusion she had already mastered. Records from Desilu Productions, her powerhouse company, back this up clearly. Throughout the 1960s, Desilu's shows consistently showed far less diversity than other studios working at the same time. Later, network diversity reports confirmed the pattern. Even as television slowly changed, Desilu stuck to the same formula: white leads, white supporting roles, and very little representation on screen or behind the scenes. Writers who worked under Lucille recalled pitching integrated storylines or scripts touching on racial issues, only to have those ideas shut down instantly. Her official reason was always about maintaining universal appeal and not wanting to alienate the audience. But insiders knew the real message: protecting white comfort came first. Diversity wasn't treated as progress. It was treated like a gamble she refused to take. What made Lucille's influence especially heavy was how much weight her words carried. When she told producers to stick with what works, people followed that advice. She wasn't just running shows, she was shaping how an entire generation thought about television. Her empire proved exclusion could still make money, and Hollywood took that as a green light to keep the system exactly the same. After her death in 1989, the public remembered Lucille Ball as a comedy genius and a barrier breaker for women in entertainment. Obituaries praised her brilliance and business skills, but barely touched how she used that power to maintain an exclusive industry. Her laughter and universal appeal became the legacy, while the exclusion she normalized stayed buried under applause. And then came number 8 on Merv Griffin's list, a man whose charm, voice, and influence made him nearly untouchable for decades. Number 8, Frank Sinatra, the Rat Pack boss with a power shield. When Frank Sinatra appeared on the Merv Griffin show, audiences saw the definition of cool. The smooth crooner behind My Way, the fearless leader of the Rat Pack, Sinatra wasn't just a star, he was pure dominance in a tailored suit. His reach stretched across Hollywood, politics, and powerful inner circles, and that kind of influence meant he never felt pressure to hide who he really was. People who worked closely with Frank Sinatra said his behavior could turn icy fast. He was often cold, dismissive, and openly condescending toward black workers, treating them like they were easily replaceable instead of skilled professionals. Production coordinators later reported that his backstage demands sometimes included requests for familiar or experienced staff, coded language everyone understood as a quiet way to keep black workers off his team. And because of who Sinatra was, those unspoken wishes were always granted. Nobody dared push back. What made it even more disturbing was how his behavior shifted over time. Colleagues from his earlier years said that while he was never easy, he at least tried to stay professional. But by the 1970s and 1980s, once his status hit legendary levels and nobody challenged him, Sinatra stopped holding back. He grew sharper, more dismissive, and far more comfortable expressing offensive views, sometimes even in public settings. Multiple accounts from stage crews and network insiders described moments when Sinatra used racially offensive language during bouts of frustration. No one confronted him, not producers, not hosts, not executives. His influence was enormous, and he knew it. His name alone kept rooms silent, and that confidence turned into a shield, pure power armor that blocked any consequences. Crew members who worked across different productions said Sinatra believed he was completely untouchable, and the industry proved him right. For decades, he acted like the rules didn't apply to him, and time after time, Hollywood backed him up. Despite documented patterns, dismissive treatment of black staff, coded requests that kept sets segregated, and language that shocked even peers, Sinatra faced zero real accountability. His legendary status, powerful connections, and deep reach into entertainment and politics gave him permanent protection. Challenging Frank Sinatra meant challenging Hollywood royalty itself. He lived surrounded by fame, wealth, and loyalty, and when he passed away in 1998, the world mourned him as one of the greatest voices in history. Tributes and obituaries flooded in, celebrating his smooth vocals, his Rat Pack era, and his massive impact on American music. But those glowing headlines barely acknowledged the documented accounts of how he treated black workers throughout his career. That part of the story was buried under nostalgia, praise, and decades of careful image control. From 1962 to 1986, Merv Griffin hosted some of the biggest names in entertainment. And because he wasn't just a host, but a major television producer, he saw what others never caught. He wasn't only listening to interviews, he was watching how stars treated people once the cameras stopped rolling. He saw who demanded special treatment, who quietly resisted integration, and who used power to protect outdated ideas dressed up as tradition. Production records, staff testimony, and cross-network reports all pointed to the same ugly truth. When Griffin, Carson, and Sullivan, three of TV's most powerful hosts, witnessed the same discriminatory behavior from the same stars, it wasn't coincidence. When multiple crews at different studios described identical treatment toward black workers, the pattern became impossible to deny. These weren't one-time blow-ups or bad days. These were long-running attitudes carried from decade to decade, studio to studio, by stars powerful enough to bend the rules. Every time they demanded all-white crews, used coded language to dodge inclusion, or told young producers that staying traditional was smart business, they helped lock discrimination into Hollywood's foundation. Their influence went way beyond personal bias. It shaped how the industry worked. Their preferences guided hiring, controlled casting, and built invisible walls that blocked talented black artists from real opportunities. And the machine protected them every step of the way. Studios buried complaints, networks made quiet deals, and publicists scrubbed images until everything looked clean again. Behind the lights, laughter, and glamour, a darker system stayed alive. One where fame meant freedom from accountability. Power insulated these icons, and their legends became too profitable to challenge. Now that all 8 names are out in the open, from the fierce actress who used influence to exclude, to the cowboy who defended racism, to the beloved crooner who hid segregation behind charm, the real question is this: which one shocked you the most? Did you already know about these documented patterns hiding behind the smiles and spotlight? Or did some of these stories completely change how you see Hollywood's so-called golden age? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We want to hear what you think. And if you want more eye-opening breakdowns of hidden truths and untold scandals from entertainment history, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.